We did not start this to do tapings and to be on television, but besides the letters that are made up during the Kyroot readings, it is obvious that there are people watching this, and we do receive mail that covers a wide range. Much of it on the basis that even some of the Kyroots made-up letters sort of reflect the people who say that they enjoy it and yet have no idea what it's about. All the way from that to, I guess, another end of the spectrum is one letter even expressed enjoyment of the program, but assumed it was in a foreign language. Literally. Which is not their fault. But on the basis of me saying that this did not start out to be a television program, and it didn't start out to go at random to just someone who might turn it on a television or a radio, or if we were staying on a street corner, that it started out very specifically to whatever number of people showed up to hear about it. And the idea of having a name, calling it revolution, is indicative of almost nothing, other than to keep from calling it anything that you out there, since I haven't looked at the camera necessarily, this was specifically, more or less, for those who are watching this on television, here and there. To call it the revolution was just to try and stop anyone who might watch this and find some interest in it, to stop them from immediately assuming that, well, this is so-and-so. And it is not possible. It's not anyone's fault, but it's not possible. I could spend half of the program trying to give out warnings and saying this is not, and run a whole litany of what it's not. Swear to you that it's not a New Age church, that it's not a sales pitch, that it's not a cult, that it's not an anti-cult. And if you had anyone watching this, if you have any idea of what, for instance, the Kyroots tonight, that whole string, I tried to bring in and let cover a wide spectrum of everything that this is about. And if you were listening to that, you should get some idea of why sometimes we also refer to it as specifically a neural revolution, and it has to do with expanding thinking. And even after saying that, you can warn everyone and say, well, if you find anything of interest, forget the idea that there's a point to this. Forget the idea that it is a cover for something, or that it's to try to get you to think in a certain way that it's not. And at any ordinary condition, any place on this planet, it has nothing to do with race, culture, religion, time of day, humidity. It has to do with physics. More and more, Kyroots and I have been referring behind the nice little term hormones, which I will assume that everyone of you assumes that we intend a little more than the actual physiological extent and limitations of hormones, but it's just sort of a personalized description of the laws of physics in a certain way. That is what human intelligence is about. That is what people are about. That is the only thing that you can ever get any grasp on, certain people, any grasp on what life is about. The only alternative on this planet is in some area normally referred to as religious, faith, belief. And they're not that far removed. That is, you cannot get outside the closet, you cannot change the workings of the human nervous system. But there are only a few people at any particular time, I mean a few, that actually hear this in a certain way, not hear it in a certain way to agree with me or with somebody else. At any particular time it may appear to be that way. But even Kyroot tonight had a little one about a man who said, I am the leader of a cult, and here are my followers, semicolon. And then the group of people pointed at him, and they all said, we are a leader of a cult, and he is our follower. To say that there are only a few people that ever hear this was also covered. It's about as crude, about as direct, I believe, as anybody could bear to swallow it right now or to hear it. It's for the last 2 nights that we've taped. Kyroot brought it up, and that is that if you try to get people to look in more than 2 directions, they're inclined to go blind or to get annoyed. That was the original version last time. There's just not much to say after that. There is no hostility in it. There is no censor of how people think. It is simply a fact. All you've got to do is look at your own nervous system. Things are arranged in such a way that life grows based upon what, by all appearances, would seem to be the limits, the full operational limits, quite adequately, of simply polarized energy. Now, it seems, I know, to be different when it gets up here, but it's the same kind of energy that runs what science here on this planet calls the world of physics, chemistry, electricity, magnetism, gravity. There's just no difference in the energy that runs it. And to try and get people to look in more than 2 directions is, I guess if you people are ordinary and you've thought about it, you might come up and want to say things like, well, it's probably a thankless task, or useless task. And it's probably an impossible undertaking. But still, people throughout history, not just here and us doing this, but throughout history, this sort of thing, the revolution under all kinds of names, that is life, just sort of pushing over inside of itself, over in certain areas. This kind of thing has always been going on. There's always been some little group of people doing this. But a better description is, to see it, is if you try and make your own nervous system at that level. If you try and make people look in more than 2 directions, and by people, we're talking about this, because the primary world does not look in more than 2 directions. Down in your own nervous system, down in the basement of the factory, from whence we all come, down where the soil affects what blooms here, lions. They do not look in more than 2 directions. It would be suicidal. It is just quite simply covered in the old idea of flee or fight, eat or be eaten. The binary nature of the primary world could not be more efficient. It's just, there's no way to fool with that. Anybody who tries to fool with that in life or in themselves is suicidal. They're not part of the mainstream of life's body. It is reflected directly in here by what Kyroots, the way he put it, that if you attempt to get people to look in more than 2 directions, which is to say, if you attempt to get the human nervous system in some strange way, if you just try to get it to move outside the proper functions and operations of being driven by polarized energy, if you do that, the system has 2 automatic reactions. Kyroot expanded tonight. But the original was, it is inclined to go blind. Just not hear it. It just go blind to it intellectually or get annoyed. And there is no valid way to describe, or there's no rational way that gets annoyed, that people can hear such as this, and they just don't like it. And they can't describe it, but just, no. I don't. And one is not superior to the other, and it's no proof. If more people are annoyed by it, then went blind by it, it wouldn't prove that in particular forms of revolution was getting popular. Because if it's getting popular, it's not the revolution anyway. But that is the way the nervous system reacts if you try and get it to look in more than two directions. The best it can come to is a quite common idea in the city that a more intellectual person, a more sophisticated person would be someone who is not locked in to simply one view. It would be someone who can listen to opposing views. Someone who not only has had or has a lifetime subscription to a right-wing magazine, but periodically will go out the newsstand and pick up some liberal publication just to read and see what's going on and try and, everybody has a few good ideas. But it is very theoretical. I don't mean that it could be otherwise, because I am giving you a fair description now. You've got your own laboratory. At any ordinary level here, anything this side of what we're calling revolution, if you try and make this look in more than two directions, it's inclination. It's ordinary inclination. It's just to go blind. Now, just to lose interest, lay down the magazine, look off, forget what it was attempting to think about. Either that, or look at it, and of course it's the same version of going blind, but instead of just forgetting about it, looks at it and thinks, well, this is worse than I thought. And they don't know why. The other one reason I was bringing this up tonight, taking this time, Kyroots pointed out tonight, he drew in a third one. To go blind, get annoyed, or to laugh. And between Kyroots and I, there's no doubt over the last, since we especially started doing these tapings for the last several years, as a writer tonight to Kyroots, pointed out that when, of course Kyroots made up the letter probably, but that somebody wrote in and said when they first started watching the show they thought it was serious, but was some sort of cover of humor. But then they began to think that, no, this is nothing but humor. It's nothing but a joke. It's just a comedy show of some kind. And then they ask, is there anything else? And also Kyroots pointed out tonight that humor can be used as a weapon, and it can also be a diffuser, which makes it tricky to use as a weapon. In other words, instead of throwing a hand grenade at somebody, you may be throwing the pin. Put this back in that hand grenade so it won't hurt you. Because if you can laugh at something, it is a very, in a sense, subtle almost third party to going blind or becoming annoyed. It's just a laugh. And we have, between Kyroots and I, and all of you have carried it to the point that I am sure that there are some people that are watching this now, without any doubt, I'm not just speculating, that think it's some sort of comedy show, but they're not quite sure what. And they keep thinking, well, there's something serious, but that by and large it's just funny. Now, rather than just keep your attention on the taping of whatever these kind of proceedings are, to yourself consider, if you can continue to laugh about something, but at the ordinary level, you cannot divorce that from a certain, to some degree, hostility, always. But if you can continue to laugh at something, you can stay blind to it. You can, in fact, laugh at it and be annoyed at it. But it makes it tolerable. It is a kind of diffusing. But in a sense, it needs another word, of course, which I don't have one for you. I can make up one and serve no consequence. That for somebody who understands, for somebody that this is their hobby, it should be another word of serious. Is when I let Kyroots bring in one tonight about a man who said, who wrote the show and said that he didn't know why Kyroots kept taking these swipes at people being serious. I'm still referring back to this guy's letter, and he says that rather than attacking people being serious out in life, the letter writer said that he was convinced, from his view already, that whatever this kind of stuff was wouldn't even be possible unless there were people involved with it, they're not just serious. They're super serious. And Kyroots said, "Sir, you might be correct." Sure, he's correct. But the seriousness is not the kind that is polar-based. That's why I say it really needs a new word, because any ordinary word to say that something is serious, then it also has, without any doubt, you can't get away from it. In the same way that you can't talk about a positive charge without there being a negative charge. You can't talk about up without down. You can't talk about any law of physics without its corresponding anti-law. It's antipodal, the resistance to it. So there cannot be seriousness in the ordinary sense without anti-seriousness, without humor. But at the ordinary level, all that kind of humor always has a kind of aggression to it. It has based upon the primary world of the hormonal drive to kill or be killed. And you cannot at the ordinary level laugh without somebody without there being a piece of a lion laughing at a gazelle. Or a gazelle laughing at a lion because it turned off real quick and the lion kept running straight and ran into a tree. There is that kind of defense. And the only way to get from here to there in a revolutionary sense, go back to another Kyroot, the only person that can do that would be the tar baby. Now don't worry about you and a gazelle or you and a lion. It's being able to do it to yourself. That you do not take what you ordinarily think is being serious. For those of you who don't know the story about the tar baby, if you're going to beat up on somebody, here it is. Except the only way that you can come out of a bout of self-defense and be no worse for the wear is to be a tar baby. The more you punch, the less there is. You cannot beat up anyone strange in a closet. Not in the dark. If you're ordinary, you can think you do. But that is why also, to refer to another Kyroot, one subversive old sort told his kid, what he meant was the reality, the subversive reality behind the idea of humility. It has nothing to do with righteousness. It has to do with intelligence. That is, that you know what the struggle is. You know what sort of fights are going on. And the only way you can come out of defending yourself and be no worse for the wear is if you're a tar baby at a certain level. There is the ultimate humility, is not wearing sackcloth and dumping ashes on your head. The real humility is not... All right, one more Kyroot that I know is sort of strange. Is it said that a revolutionist would not take it real personally to periodically be in the city and have one, quote, have one put over on him. In other words, have the city put one over on you. Be a rube like everybody else. Because if you're alive, if you're not a hermit, and if you're a hermit, you're not completely alive anyway. But if you're going into the city, you're periodically going to have one put over on you. And I don't mean just that somebody played 3-card money on you, or said, hey, I found this money, and I'll split it with you if. No, because in the city, they don't really pull frauds on each other. Well, they may remember, but the plane still is. Where are you going to go with the money? You steal it in the closet? You think, hey, I got away scot-free, which is okay as long as you're satisfied to live in the Scott closet. As long as you don't understand, wait a minute, I got all this money I took from everybody else in the closet, and I still can't get out of the closet. The fraud would actually be, I suggest what the old man was trying to suggest to the kid. The fraud is believing that you have in some way put one over on somebody else. Whereas the city, if you live there, but you do to some degree, they're always going to put one over on you, not because of some conscious fraud or intent on their part, because then Kyroots went ahead to define, in his view, what putting one over on you would be, and that is simply that people in the city take what they're doing, or they pretend to take it seriously, and you, the revolutionist, momentarily, as you're going to do, tripped, and you also momentarily took their pretense seriously, but just even momentarily. But that's having one put over on you. That is reacting to the ordinary polarized energy, such as sitting there and hearing You're watching TV and a politician comes on, or an economist, or somebody comes on and says, I'll tell you so-and-so. And as soon as they start, you go, Jesus Christ, what an idiot. But see, now it's being put over on you. Because in one quite real sense, I could put it to you as something that you should go ahead and try to assume, but it's a fact in a way that belies ordinary facts. That is, you've got to see that nobody in the city is serious. In a quite real sense, you're the biggest boob in the world. I mean, to be a revolution, not you people out there that just find this, believe I'm speaking in Armenian or something, or just find it interesting, or you just want to look and think, Jesus, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. The revolutionist, the person that's we'll assume, a little extraordinary, let's say that, a little different. Here's how undifferent you are. Because if you have any touch, if you're bitten at all by this, you're periodically going to have one put over on you. Every time that you look at the city, which is the opposite of real humility, that is, it being a sign of intelligence, not a sign of righteousness or goodness, but here it is, the city acting in the ways that ordinary people think are dumb, crude, pecker-headed, stupid, dense, ironic, anything you want to call it. That is, by a guy saying, well, here's what we should do, or elect me president, and here's what I'll do. And as soon as he starts that, you're going, Jesus, holy crap. You don't understand. Somebody has just they pulled out the card table, and there you are, right off the bus, at Port Authority in Manhattan, with your cardboard suitcase, and the guy says, kid, come over here. I got these 3 shells in this pea. You want to make some money? That's nothing. That's nothing. Or them say, do you want to buy the Lincoln Tunnel? Because you're obviously too smart to buy the Brooklyn Bridge. They point out, I wouldn't try to. No, the real sucker is that there it is, something serious in life. That the guy says, elect me. We've got so many frauds, so many crooks in office. Elect an honest. And the time he starts, you're beginning to go, oh, you nuts. You think I'm going to fall for that crap. There's the sucker game. You've had it put over on you. Because you are assuming, now I'm saying you with a potential, some little potential to be a revolutionist. To in some way get beyond the horizon of your 60 years mentally. You are assuming that they're serious. Now, of course, back at their level, they are. But you're not a revolutionist. If you think they're serious, it's pretend. And for you to go, for you to do anything is not humility. And it's a sign of true stupidity. Well, it's just you've had one put over on you. No matter what it is. Yes, if you're not a Baptist, you will die and burn in hell. And you think, good God. No, don't do good God. You've just been had. Because you're operating on the basis that those people are serious. And of course, the ordinary people, they're going to say, well, we are serious, even the people that said it. Well, you're darn right. Well, if he was a Baptist, he wouldn't say darn, I don't guess, but they'd say, yes, you're right, we are serious. They're not serious. Or if they are serious, now from one view they are, and if you still believe they are, then you're not a revolutionist. Or, okay, you're a revolutionist, but you're in the midst of having one put over on your foot. Because they're not serious. And the only way that you can be taken advantage of, the only way that you can be stupid, the only way that you can be non-humble, the only way that you can be caught is by taking that serious. That is one of the little dangers in humor, and as far as we have carried it here. Because you can take it as being a diffuser. You can take it as a form of blindness. That is, you can take it as a form of, well, all of this is just pointing out the folly of ordinary life. It's just pointing out, and we're trying to do it, or he's trying to do it in sort of a less than ordinarily hostile way. Kind of pointing out the feet of clay of all of our sciences and our arts and our religious leaders. No. It's not doing that. There's nothing to point out. It's all, I'm inclined to say a joke again, but we've made it, in a sense, probably too humorous for some people, especially watching this periodically. It's not that they're less than sincere, but you're on the same level if you believe it's sincere. Because if you react to it, you're part of the polarized energy, especially to react to it in some way to reveal your objective, critical faculties, to show that you are intellectually chilled out, to show, as that writer said, it's not so easy to put one over on me. Sure it is. I mean, all you got to do is say it's not too easy, it's not so easy to put one over on me, but don't say anything else. It's just, while you were talking, it's like saying, I'm too fast for a bird to ever drop one on me. And while you're saying that, I mean, you're just getting covered. That's what it's equal to. Anytime somebody says, anybody, when they say, nah, I'm too sharp, you're not going to pull that on me, they just did. I mean, while you were doing this, and say, nah, you're not going to pull that on me, because you can't be correct and say, well, this guy's trying to get me to join up some political party. That guy was trying to collect money for some kind of crackpot religious idea. Yeah. No, he didn't get me because I refused to play. Don't you see? You've been had. From the revolutionist view, even if you are some kind of weekend or part-time revolutionist, you weren't right then. Even while saying, no, that guy tried to get me to contribute money, or he wanted me to come over and whitewash his fence and help him. I've read that story before. You take it seriously. And if you take it seriously, you've been had. It's all pretend. They are pretending to be serious. And if you get mad, don't you see? There is the true definition of everything from humility to intelligence. Another way, it is a true understanding of what would be humorous, that is, to understand what is not serious. But just to stand at life, which I know that some people out there that's been seeing this, they take the show this way because we get the letters about it. I can warn forever that this is not poking fun at life in any way. Yeah. And they believe it is. That a boy, right on. Oh boy, when you stuck it to the priest, when you said something about rabbis, when you said something about politicians, oh yeah, keep that up. I enjoy watching it. It's part of the potential captious nature of humor, because you can think, well, I'm laughing, but I'm laughing at all these other dunderheads. You've been had. Because they're just pretending. They don't know it, but they're just pretending. And you're getting mad about it. Righteously, intelligently so. Bye. Did all that get on tape?
Yeah. Yes.
Then goodbye. And don't take it serious. But laugh in the right places.